Imagine a world where we were not alone, where another species walked the earth beside us, equally strong, equally intelligent, and perhaps just as human. Over 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals thrived in frozen landscapes, shaping tools, hunting giants, and surviving some of Earth's harshest climates. But then they vanished. What happened to them? Were they defeated? Did they merge with us? Or is their story far more complicated than we ever imagined? The answers lie deep within our bones, literally, because a part of them still lives within us today, but not in the way you might think. The discovery that changed everything. In 1856, quarry workers uncovered strange bones in a limestone cave near Dusseldorf, Germany, a discovery that would shake the foundations of science. At first, these remains puzzled researchers. Were they human? Were they some kind of ancient ape? The skull was low and elongated, the brow ridges heavy, the limbs strangely thick. To Victorian scientists, they looked primitive, almost savage. Thus, Neanderthals were branded as brutish cavemen, clumsy and unintelligent compared to modern humans. But here's where things get interesting. Over the decades, more fossils surfaced not just in Germany, but across Europe and Asia. The evidence told a different story. These beings weren't failed experiments. They were a sister species, one that lived, hunted, and adapted alongside us for hundreds of thousands of years. Yet one question lingered. If they were so advanced, why did they vanish? Even today, scientists debate this mystery. Did we outcompete them? Did climate shifts force them into extinction? Or did something more subtle and perhaps more surprising seal their fate? Before we answer that, we need to step back. To truly understand the Neanderthals, we must step into their world, a planet locked in ice, filled with monstrous beasts, and ruled by survival at its most brutal. And once you see what they endured, you'll never look at human history the same way again. Life in an Ice Age world. Picture Europe 100,000 years ago. Endless sheets of ice carved through valleys and towering glaciers swallowed mountains whole. Winters were long and unforgiving, with temperatures plunging far below freezing. Summers were short, barely offering relief before another brutal freeze set in. But Neanderthals thrived here. How? They adapted with precision. Their homes weren't towering structures, but rock shelters and caves designed to conserve heat. They wore animal hides, stitched tightly with sinew, and mastered fire in ways that made survival possible. The land teemed with megafauna, woolly mammoths, cave bears, giant deer, and woolly rhinoceroses. But these colossal creatures weren't just prey, they were predators too. One misstep could mean death. And yet Neanderthals hunted them not from a distance, but up close, armed with wooden spears, stone blades, and sheer strength. Still, the Ice Age wasn't their only challenge. Survival required strategy, intelligence, and teamwork. They needed to plan hunts, track migrations, and cooperate in ways we once thought only modern humans could. But living alongside giants came with a cost. Injuries were constant, food scarce, and rival species lurked on the horizon. Because around this time, another player was entering the stage, one that would change the balance forever. Early Homo sapiens were beginning to migrate out of Africa, heading straight into Neanderthal territory. What would happen when these two worlds collided? Allies? Enemies? Or something stranger? That moment would define human history, and we're getting closer to uncovering it. Built for power, designed for survival. Neanderthals were not fragile beings lost to time. They were built like elite athletes. On average, they stood shorter than us, around 5 foot 5 inches, but what they lacked in height, they made up for in sheer density. Their bones were nearly twice as thick as ours, their shoulders broader, their rib cages barrel-shaped, and their muscles immense. Studies suggest Neanderthal men averaged 83 kilograms, 183 pounds, of compact, functional strength, while women averaged 66 kilograms, 146 pounds. Their bodies were designed to conserve heat, absorb impact, and generate explosive power. Some reconstructions estimate their raw strength rivaled modern powerlifters. Imagine a Neanderthal bench pressing the weight of a piano. Researchers believe 400 to 500 pounds wasn't out of reach. Their grip strength was unparalleled, thanks to wider fingers and thicker thumbs, perfect for wielding stone tools and heavy spears. But their physiques came at a cost. Shorter legs and less efficient Achilles tendons meant they weren't built for marathons. Instead, they specialized in burst speed and close-quarter combat, exactly what Ice Age hunting demanded. Their bodies also required immense fuel. Scientists estimate they consumed between 4,500 and 6,700 calories per day, nearly triple the average modern human. That meant constant hunting, constant moving, and constant danger. Yet strength alone wasn't enough to keep them alive. Something else gave them the edge, something that went beyond muscle and bone. Because when archaeologists unearthed their tools, camps, and shelters, they realized Neanderthals weren't just surviving, they were innovating, and what they left behind would change everything we thought we knew about their minds.
Masters of the hunt. Imagine standing shoulder to shoulder with your kin, gripping a heavy wooden spear, your breath steaming in the frozen air. Across the tundra, a woolly rhinoceros, 3 tons of muscle and horn, charges toward you. There's no safety net, no long-range rifles, no backup plans. If you miss, you die. Neanderthals hunted up close and personal. They relied on ambush tactics, patience, and intimate knowledge of animal behavior. Archaeological evidence shows they used coordinated attacks, surrounding prey and driving them into traps or natural kill zones. This level of strategy suggests planning and cooperation rivaling early Homo sapiens, and their diet reflected their success. Isotope analysis from Neanderthal bones shows they were top-tier predators, consuming vast amounts of red meat, mammoth, bison, reindeer supplemented with nuts, roots, and berries when necessary. But hunting wasn't just about food, it was survival training. Injuries were almost inevitable. Broken bones, deep cuts, even crushed limbs were common. Yet they healed. This meant communities cared for their wounded, protecting them until they recovered, proving Neanderthals valued more than just strength. Still, their environment was ruthless. A single failed hunt could doom an entire group. And the appearance of Homo sapiens, faster, more adaptive, and possibly armed with better tools, introduced a new level of competition. But here's the twist. Despite the growing rivalry, evidence suggests the relationship between Neanderthals and modern humans wasn't purely violent. Some encounters were far more intimate. And what scientists discovered in our DNA proves these two species were far more connected than anyone imagined. For centuries, Neanderthals were painted as mindless animal-like beings, but modern discoveries shattered that myth. Archaeologists have uncovered ornaments, tools, pigments, and even cave art linked directly to Neanderthals. In some caves, they carved patterns into stone walls, while others show evidence of jewelry crafted from shells and animal teeth. This wasn't a survival instinct. This was symbolic thought. Evidence also points to possible burial practices. Several Neanderthal sites contain skeletons carefully arranged, sometimes accompanied by tools or flowers. Were they honoring their dead? Was this the beginning of spiritual belief? We don't know for sure, but the implications are profound. Their tools were equally impressive. Neanderthals created specialized stone blades, scrapers, and spears, adapting them for different tasks. Some weapons even featured wooden handles attached with natural adhesives, a level of engineering we once thought beyond them. And they communicated. While we may never know the exact structure of their language, anatomical studies of their vocal tracts suggest they were capable of complex speech. So if Neanderthals were intelligent, creative, and socially sophisticated, why didn't they become us? That answer lies in a meeting between two worlds, one that changed the destiny of our species forever. The meeting that changed humanity. Around 60,000 years ago, something extraordinary happened. As Neanderthals thrived across Europe and Western Asia, Homo sapiens began their great migration out of Africa. Slowly, wave after wave of modern humans entered Neanderthal territory, and the two species came face to face for the first time. What happened next wasn't simple. At first, these encounters were likely cautious, even tense. Imagine standing across a clearing, watching another group that looks almost exactly like you, yet somehow different. Were they rivals, potential allies, or something else entirely? The archaeological record paints a fascinating picture. Some regions show evidence of conflict, violent injuries, burned settlements, and sudden population shifts suggest fierce competition for territory and resources. But other sites hint at something far more unexpected: cooperation. Neanderthals and modern humans may have shared hunting grounds, exchanged survival strategies, and in some cases lived side by side. And then came the discovery that turned human history upside down. They interbred. Far from being isolated species, Neanderthals and Homo sapiens formed relationships. When scientists sequenced the Neanderthal genome in 2010, they discovered that every non-African population alive today carries between 1 and 2% Neanderthal DNA. That means a part of them still lives in us, quite literally. But this raises an even deeper mystery. If Neanderthals were close enough to us to interbreed, why did they disappear while we survived? Was it climate, competition, or something else hidden in the genetic record? To answer that, we need to step inside their DNA, and what scientists found there changes everything we thought we knew about ourselves. Interbreeding, the genetic legacy. When scientists unlocked the Neanderthal genome, they found something astonishing. Traces of their DNA scattered across billions of modern human genomes. In other words, they are still part of us. But this wasn't just a curious fact. It changed our understanding of human evolution. Many of the traits we carry today, from our immune systems to our skin tone, come directly from Neanderthals. Certain Neanderthal genes helped early Homo sapiens adapt to colder climates, process fats more efficiently, and fight off new pathogens in unfamiliar environments. Without them, our species might not have survived in Eurasia at all. But here's the twist. Their genetic legacy is a double-edged sword. Some Neanderthal DNA has been linked to autoimmune conditions like Crohn's disease, lupus, and even type 2 diabetes. Other variants affect sleep patterns, fat storage, and even how our bodies respond to sunlight. The fingerprints of Neanderthals are still shaping our biology, for better and for worse. Even our appearance owes them a debt. Genes influencing hair thickness, skin pigmentation, and vitamin D absorption trace back to Neanderthal ancestry. It's not just about survival, it's about identity. And yet, knowing how much they live within us makes their extinction even more haunting. How could a species so deeply connected to us vanish entirely? Theories abound: shifting climates, dwindling food, and pressure from expanding Homo sapiens populations all played a role. But some researchers believe something more subtle happened, a slow blending, until Neanderthals disappeared not through destruction, but through absorption. Still, the timeline holds a clue. Roughly 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals vanish from the fossil record almost everywhere at once. That sudden collapse raises one of the biggest mysteries in human history, the Great Disappearance. For over 350,000 years, Neanderthals survived catastrophic ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and relentless predators. And yet, around 40,000 years ago, they vanished. Why? Some scientists point to climate change. As the last ice age peaked, ecosystems collapsed and food sources dwindled. Neanderthals, specialized for hunting large megafauna, struggled to adapt as mammoths, rhinoceroses, and giant deer disappeared from the landscape. Others blame competition with Homo sapiens. Our ancestors may have had key advantages: lighter frames for endurance running, more efficient hunting strategies, and broader social networks that enabled faster sharing of knowledge. Over time, this may have tipped the balance. But there's another possibility, one hidden in the archaeological record. Some scientists believe small Neanderthal populations became isolated, their numbers falling below the threshold needed for survival. Without genetic diversity, each loss became more devastating, each winter harder to endure. And yet some clues suggest they didn't truly vanish. Tiny fragments of evidence, stone tools, burned shelters, and faint genetic markers indicate that some groups may have persisted longer than we thought, perhaps clinging to remote refuges long after the main population collapsed. Could scattered Neanderthal bands have survived unseen while Homo sapiens dominated the continent? The question lingers: was their end truly extinction or evolution? To answer that, scientists are digging deeper than ever before, unearthing new fossils, analyzing ancient DNA, and uncovering insights that are rewriting everything we thought we knew about them. And what they've found beneath the ice is changing the story forever. New discoveries rewrite their story. For decades, Neanderthals were depicted as primitive shadows of humanity, But science is overturning those stereotypes one discovery at a time. In Spain, archaeologists uncovered Neanderthal cave paintings dating back 65,000 years, tens of thousands of years before Homo sapiens even arrived in Europe. These weren't random markings. They were deliberate, symbolic expressions of thought. In other caves, researchers found ornaments made from eagle talons, seashell necklaces, and pigments used for body decoration. These artifacts reveal a culture rich in creativity, far from the image of mindless brutes. Even more surprising, studies of Neanderthal brain structures suggest their occipital lobes, the regions responsible for vision and spatial awareness, were highly developed. While modern humans evolved larger frontal lobes for abstract reasoning, Neanderthals may have excelled in other forms of intelligence, particularly in navigating their environment and hunting with precision. And then came the genome sequencing revolution. By mapping their DNA, scientists uncovered evidence of multiple interbreeding events between Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, and even other hominids like the mysterious Denisovans. This revealed a far more interconnected web of ancient humanity than we ever imagined. Each new discovery paints Neanderthals not as evolutionary failures, but as highly adapted survivors whose legacy shaped who we are today. And yet, the deeper we look, the more questions emerge. Because if Neanderthals were this intelligent, creative, and resilient, why aren't they still here? That haunting question brings us to the final chapter, one that connects their fate to our own future.
What Neanderthals teach us about ourselves. In the end, the story of the Neanderthals isn't just about their extinction. It's about us. They were our closest relatives, sharing 99.7% of our DNA. Yet their fate diverged from ours in ways that still shape human history. They endured unimaginable hardships, adapted to extremes, and displayed strength and creativity rivaling our own. And yet, they're gone. Their disappearance forces us to confront a sobering truth. Adaptability is survival. Neanderthals were powerful, intelligent, and resourceful, but when their environment shifted and new competitors emerged, their world collapsed. It's a reminder that no species, not even ours, is guaranteed permanence. But it's also a story of connection. Neanderthal DNA still flows through billions of us today. Every time we breathe, move, or think, we carry fragments of them within us, a silent partnership across time. Their story challenges the myths we've told about human superiority. We didn't simply replace them, we absorbed them, learned from them, and became, in part, them. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Our survival as a species has never been about strength alone, but about cooperation, innovation, and adaptation. The Neanderthals aren't just echoes of the past. They're woven into our identity, living reminders of where we came from and warnings of where we might be headed. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe and join us for the next video, where we uncover more untold stories from humanity's past. Each episode carries us deeper into the mysteries of history, connecting us to the people and events that shaped our world today. Until next time, keep exploring, because the past still lives within us.